Thank you for tuning in to the Natty News Daily podcast. This episode is brought to you in part by our sponsor, Core Nutritionals. You can check out corenutritionals.com for all your supplement needs and use code Natty News Daily at checkout to save 20%. Enjoy the episode.
What's going on, people? Welcome to another episode of the Natty News Daily podcast. Ignore James in the bottom corner of the screen as he wanders around his gym. He's just trying to find a quieter location to get this episode in. He's usually at home, but man is working, and we respect him for that. But as you guys can see, we've got a special guest on tonight, Mr. Adam Gregg, WNBF Pro, and the first ever WNBF Ontario overall champion. Welcome to the podcast, my man.
Hey, Leroy. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
No, I'm glad we could line this up. We were going to talk about WNBF Calgary that went on this past weekend, and Dan proposed getting Adam on the podcast. So a quick message, and we were able to pull it off. So I'm glad you could make time for us, man. It means a lot.
For sure. Absolutely.
So let's, for those that don't know you, let's back up just a little bit. So this was your debut season within competitive bodybuilding. And within that debut season, 3 shows, one of them earning your WNBF Pro card, and then one of them making your not necessarily long-awaited WNBF debut, because it was only a couple months. But
yeah,
can you just run through how this season went for you? I know you said to me that it was a 52-week prep by the time it was all said and done.
Yeah. So I started prep October 31st, 2022. So exactly a year ago. And me and my friend Anthony Arena, who was also competing in the WNBF Ontario show, we prepped together. So that gave me motivation to, go all the way through with it. It was both our debut seasons, and it was just, I didn't have any expectations coming into this season at all. It's my first season, rookie season. I'm like, hey, you know what? Like, I'm just coming off a big bulk, probably I think it was a 2-year bulk that I had done. And then I'm like, all right, I'm going to give myself enough time to cut down really slowly. I didn't want to rush the cut or anything. That's why I did such a long extended cut. I just wanted to take my time with it, hold on to as much strength and as much muscle as possible, and just bring the best package that I could. Just go into these shows and just see what I could do. And I think I did pretty well in my first
did
season.
All right. So you did the CPA, like a regional CPA show, which I was fortunate enough to be there live as well. So that would have been like around the 30-ish week, like mid-30s. Around that time?
Yeah, that was around week, I think 39, 40, something like that. And that was intended to be our warm-up show. We were originally just going head first into the WNBF Ontario show. But Anthony and I, we were looking and we were like, okay, you know what, maybe we should do a warm-up show to get just get the feel of it, get the nerves out of the way, step on stage. And because the WNBF Ontario show, that was the big one for me and Anthony's. But so we did the CPA show, and we got most of the nerves out of the way and just a feel for what it's like to actually step on stage and do the bodybuilding routine, which is completely new to me as well, and being in front of a big crowd and everything like that. And I was shocked. I won my class. I was super stoked with that. Came second in the overall. And
I also, for the record, and I'll put this on record, you should have won that overall. But just saying,
I appreciate
you were, and that's bodybuilding, right? Like, there's always going to be judges who favor certain things over others. But I think when you look at a complete bodybuilder, it's not just about being the biggest. And I think that's where I had you a little bit ahead in conditioning, proportion, some other areas that I think matter a lot more than necessarily just being massive. But anyways, we'll let that slide.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
So then
Yeah.
so you did that show, and then so that was August 19th.
August 19th. Yeah.
Yep.
That's
And
right.
were you coached by anyone too, real quick?
No,
Or no?
no. So
Completely self-coached.
I'm completely self-coached through this entire prep. Me and Anthony, we would bounce ideas off of each other, but I programmed completely by myself. I set up my diet by myself, everything. My posing, I just practiced by myself. I didn't have a posing coach. I would just watch videos on YouTube how to pose, and I would practice daily, literally daily for 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at night. And I had done that pretty much every day for most of the prep. So I got really used to that and just perfected my posing going into these shows, because I knew that that's a massive aspect
For sure.
And yeah.
Really did your homework. Yeah.
That reminds me of a saying that a local coach in Toronto, I think I saw him share it first, but it was pros turn pro before they turn pro. And speaking to you posing an hour a day and dieting for 30 plus weeks for your first show, like those are things that at the professional level you would expect, especially from very good pros. And it's no surprise you got the results you did this season. Obviously your physique is phenomenal, and that's just years and years and years and good genetics and the whole 9 yards. But the other like variables that you had control over that everybody else also has control over, you put effort into, right? With your posing, with the length of your prep, giving yourself time to cut down. I think you told me in Calgary you were like mid 180s. So you lost, 30-ish, around 30, 35 pounds. So over, for that first show, roughly a pound, even a little bit less than a pound a week. Like that is smart, right? And a lot of people will hear 30-week prep and they'll think that's just, oh my God, how could you do that? And 52 weeks, you must be insane. But I mean, success leaves clues, man. And when you look at the physique you brought, again, if you just separate yourself from like how much muscle you have after years of training, you did everything right to yield a positive result. You know what I mean?
Yeah, thank you. No, I really appreciate that.
So let's
I don't want to overlook, like we've talked about this long prep a couple times. For the viewers, let's talk the nitty-gritty details of like how you structured that a little bit, right? Because I have my thoughts, and we've heard other people, like Jeff Alberts is famous for like a year-long prep.
Yeah.
We'll go like first chunk, 30 weeks. Was that just straight through deficit? Were you using refeeds? Do you have planned diet breaks? How'd you do that?
Yeah, I'll break that down. So basically, I did 18 weeks of dieting for the first chunk of it. And it wasn't, it was that first 18 weeks, I would say it was fairly easy, right? I came down from 187 at the start to 167 average weight, my 7-day running average. And that was pretty easy. It wasn't a harsh deficit or anything, even though I lost about 20 pounds in those 18 weeks, a little over a pound a week. Because I was fluffy, so I had a decent amount to lose. And first 18 weeks, not too bad. And then I took a diet break for 8 weeks, just to kind of readjust at that new body weight and at that strength level, to try and maintain as much strength as I could. So I maintained, went up maybe a little bit actually in those 8 weeks, maybe a couple pounds.
But probably just more filling out more than anything.
Just filling out. Exactly. Yeah. So from 167 at the beginning of the diet break, at the end of the 8-week diet break, I was at about 172-ish. So five extra pounds I put on.
Okay.
And from there I did pretty much 16 weeks. Yeah, it was 16 weeks leading into the CPA show. So I went pretty much straight through. I had one diet break at week 7 of the second portion of the cut. So I was coming down at a much slower rate this time, because I was already decently lean at 167. And I had an idea of what my target weight was going to be for the show. I guessed around, for the first show, I wanted to come in at sub 160. and I stepped on stage at the CPA show at 1:59 on the dot that morning, I remember. So it was a much slower cut, which I wanted to do, like I wanted to taper it. I didn't want to lose a pound a week anymore at that point. So I really tapered it down. So I lost from 72 to 59. So another 13 pounds. So a little under a pound a week. A little bit, it was faster in the beginning, and then it tapered more and more as I got closer to the show. And then, peak week was week 16, leading into the first show. And then the shows after that, so WNBF, I had 3 weeks. So I just kept pushing. No diet breaks, no refeeds. I would have the odd like day refeed, I'd bump calories to a little over maintenance here and there. Maybe like once every 2 weeks, once every week, once I got closer and closer to the show, just to, keep myself motivated, because it did get a lot harder, a lot harder once I got closer to the shows, especially going into the WNBF show. After the CPA show, I really dug from going from 159. I weighed in at the WNBF show at like 154. So another 5 pounds in 3 weeks. It's
especially
that was hard.
Especially at that low level, right? Like 5 pounds at 180 is a cakewalk, but 5 pounds sub 160, you know what I mean? Like that starts to be a large percentage of your weight.
Yeah. And I really dug, and I saw differences daily in my physique.
Sure.
New lines were popping up, new glute striations were popping up. It was pretty crazy. I've never seen that before. And those 5 pounds were very hard to take off. But I had to do what I had to do, and I came out with the result that I wanted with from the WNBF show. And then after the WNBF show,
share this story with the viewers, would you?
I went a little bit off the rails there for 2 weeks. I celebrated my victory a little bit too much. I went from 154, 155 to 172 in 6-7 days.
So everything I said about him being a pro, ignore all that. I was fucking kidding.
Yeah, so that was interesting. Yeah, I really ate a lot. I was starving, man. Like I was absolutely famished after that show. Like,
dude, that period, man, it's your first season. So it's we would be more surprised if you didn't say that, to be honest. Because it happens to everybody, regardless of if you're a first timer when you're 18 or you're 48. Like that period after your first show, especially for how long you'd been dieting at that point, and the condition you got in is like much more severe than the average. Like you get down to 10% body fat, you have your rebound, but when you're like 4, 5, 6% body fat, like those hunger signals, man, they just start to go crazy. So when you told me that, I was like, makes sense.
I'll go into some details. Like I was eating around, like, for the first week after the show, I averaged like 6,000 calories a day. So I put on like a pound of fat a day, easy.
Easy money.
Easy. I saw my glute striations fade like by the hour. Like, I kept checking. I'm like, oh yeah, no, they're going.
And that was probably a comfortable amount of food too, right? 6,000. That was probably not even like just binging. That was just like comfortable. I bet.
I wasn't that full, to be honest. I would hit 6,000. I'd be like, I could just keep going, but I should stop because my glutes are gone, and I'm gonna compete again after this. So.
And you had a wedding, I think, either 2 weeks after or a week after?
Yeah, it was 2 weeks after the Belleville show. So I had a wedding, and that as well, like, just all the food, and it was a great time, and I just enjoyed the all the eating and being around friends and family, and I enjoyed myself for sure. But then going into the Calgary show, I had to crash diet pretty severely, which I'm never doing that again. So I went from 172 back down to 154 in 5 weeks. So yeah.
When did you?
Yeah.
That's wild. When did you decide you were going to do the Calgary show? Because I actually remember when I talked to you, interviewed you after the Ontario show, when you're going to do your pro debut, and you weren't sure. Yeah. So when did you decide, like, I need to do this? Was it like midway through this whole 2 weeks, or was it I'm gonna do this after the wedding and just run it?
Yeah, I was very conflicted during those 2 weeks, because I thought I had blown it. Like, I'd put on so much weight in such a short period of time. I was like, oh man, like, should I even do this Calgary show? Should I just try and diet a little bit and just step on stage so I can extend my my pro membership to 2 years? Because I knew I had to compete within the year. And I was, part of me was thinking maybe I should just do Calgary next year. But I was thinking again, what's the point? Because what am I going to do? Like, I'm going to have the shortest off season. I'm going to have like a 5-month off season, and then like a 7-month cut, or like it just didn't seem rational to me. It didn't make sense. So, and I was already still in prep mode. I was close enough to being in shape that I should just do it. And that's when I put my foot on the gas. Like, after those 2 weeks of like eating hard, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to do it. And I signed up for the show, and then, I booked my tickets. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. So from there, I just crash dieted hard. I went from eating 6,000 calories back down to, 2,000 calories. And then I tapered it. The last week before the Calgary show, I was eating 1,550 calories, pretty much non-existent carbs, high protein, low fat. I was dieting. Like, I was dying, man. Like, I couldn't, I've never dieted so hard before.
I love hearing this though, because I think it's just a testament to, if you want it, buckle your ass down and get after it, right? Like, obviously, is the rebound ideal? No, but you were then like, no, I'm gonna freaking do this.
Yeah.
And what does that look like? 1,550 calories, hour cardio day. I don't give a shit. I'll do it. And like, we'll talk about the results here in a minute, but it just goes to show, like, get after it, man. Like, quit bitching.
Exactly.
And not to derail anything, and I'll keep this statement very brief. I don't want to make it. These guys know what I'm going to say already. This story is the exact reason why limitations and restrictions on when people have to compete is such a bad idea, because you were stuck between two unideal situations. You either take a very short off season, which is really going to do you no good. You might maybe hormonally recover, but probably not, because you can't really recover before you have to diet back down again. Or now you have to like destroy yourself more after this rebound that you couldn't control because of what you had to do to win the pro card, right? So it's like, which of two bad choices am I about to make?
Pick the best of two evils.
I was one Krispy Kreme away from calling it, like, during those 2 weeks.
Is that your kryptonite?
Yeah. Yeah, man, like, right after the Calgary show, I had a box of 12 Krispy Kremes waiting for me that my girlfriend got me. I enjoyed those very much.
All right, so you make it to Calgary, pro debut. Can you run us through that process? Obviously, for selfish plug for those that are curious to see Adam's results and appearance on stage, the Natty News YouTube channel has the full men's bodybuilding on there, so you guys can go check that out after this episode. But as a first time pro debut, rookie season, how are you feeling going into this show?
Man, I was super nervous. Like, I was confident coming out of the WNBF show, but going into this it's another level. And I was trying to scout out some of the guys on Instagram that I was going to be up against.
Oh, don't do that.
And I know I probably shouldn't have done that, but I'm always, I want to see who I'm up against. So I was doing some scouting on Instagram, and I could see who I'm up against. I'm like, damn, man, this is gonna be tough. This is gonna be really hard. This is gonna be a stacked class. And then when I, seeing the athletes in person at the athletes meeting and backstage, right before we went on, I'm like, man, I hope I can stand with these guys. Like, it's gonna be a tough class, and it was a very, very tough class.
Yeah, it was a good one. So you had Danny that won. So it was also his pro debut. Not sure if you knew that, but it was his pro debut. So he's all the way from Israel, and he's now headed to Worlds. So you had him in first, and then you had Nathaniel, who had earned his pro card the day before at the amateur show, and then you had Matt, I think is his name.
Yeah, the winner of Kelowna.
Yeah. He was third. You were fourth, and then trickled down from there.
Yeah.
I and some other people I talked to at the show, I think we all could have made a case for you being up a placing or two, to be honest. And obviously it's judges are going to have their preferences, right? And I mean, that's the name of bodybuilding, and we're not going to sit here and argue placings, but I think as far as your conditioning, your shape, your structure, there's obviously like some things that could be improved on, and some things structurally that maybe just weren't quite as up to par as some of the other guys. But from a muscularity standpoint, you were in the mix. Like I told you afterwards, the lighting when you were on the side of the stage served you a lot better, which is, the three of us have talked about this, where if the lighting is not great and you're shredded, it almost does you a disservice because the judges can't see it.
Yeah.
Which is tough, right? And that's something that, Leo and I at the show were trying to figure out how to make the lighting better. Like the night after the Saturday show, we were literally moving the light fixtures around the room trying to make it better. But when you don't have the ability to get up and down, it's the same with the Belleville show. You just you're already at a bit of a disadvantage with lighting. But for your pro debut to still come fourth in a lineup, I mean, that's nothing to scoff at. And from a scale standpoint, you were one of the smaller, you were in your 150s, right? Like you were a smaller athlete up there. Between you and Danny, like everybody else probably was 15, 20 pounds heavier than you guys, right? So that's obviously something to acknowledge as well. But I mean, again, I was there live. I was rooting for you, man. You look good up there. You posed like a pro. You kept it together. Rodney was chipping at some guys about getting out of their poses and not staying in them. You were the one that was always on it. You were first in, last out. I think that's a big thing, man. So as a pro debut, I think you killed it, man.
No, thank you. No, I really appreciate that.
So now 2025.
Yes, sir. That's it. That's the plan. Yeah, so I'm gonna do 18 months off season, grow, eat, work on my weak points, and I'm gonna do the Calgary show again. In October 2025, and I'm gonna go to Worlds. So
just jump right that
year. Yeah, that's the plan.
Do you well, let's go off season first. What are you putting emphasis on?
My chest. Yeah, I know it's a lagging body part for me. It always has been, and I try to bring it up even during this prep, and I did make improvements. I definitely did, but it's just such a lagging body part for me. I need to really put emphasis on the upper chest, the chest fullness, thickness. But yeah, that rear delt, back thickness. I have the width, but I need some more thickness on my back.
Do you do any direct ab work at all?
I do, direct core work.
But I think just looking at it live, like in your ab and thigh, and even those like relaxed poses, like if you can just throw in like some more like weighted ab stuff to like thicken them up a little bit. Nothing for like your obliques or anything, but just like to kind of chisel that out a little bit, especially if your chest comes up, that front kind of shot will be clean. Like you said, your back like width is already there. Your quads are stupid. Good arms, both your side chest and side tricep, I think, are your two best shots. Side tricep probably my favorite on you, to be honest. Like if you like front lat spread with a bit more here, will look really good. Your back shots aren't, I wouldn't say they're weak, but like you throw another pound or so of muscle back there, they're only going to be better. So
yeah,
no, it'd be cool to watch. Are you going to go up to the 180s again, higher?
I'm probably gonna keep it in the mid 180s. Cap the bulk peak weight at about 185, 186 in that range, and then cut from there. And hopefully, I can put on a few good pounds of muscle in these 18 months and come in at around the 160s at around the same conditioning.
What were your calories at your highest?
The last off season, I was ending at about 3,800.
Yep.
And I was maintaining on that. I have a very quick metabolism. I've noticed, like for my size, it's really fast. So I was at about 3,900, maintaining on that at about 187 pounds. So I'll probably get back up to that now. I'm still eating quite a lot this week, but I'm gonna get back on the diet properly and the
diet starts Monday, right?
Yeah, diet starts Monday. I just got to get the cravings out of the way.
Yeah. January 1st, Adam's getting his shit together for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to give him that much time. He does some damage in a short amount of time.
Oh man.
Yeah.
January 1st, I'll be 215 pounds at this rate.
So then you run it back in Calgary, and then you go to Worlds. That's sweet. Do you have any inclination? Is WNBF going to be the sole focus?
That's it. Yeah, WNBF. That's the organization I want to compete with now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good, man. Yeah. Any feedback for the team at WNBF Calgary or for us from WNBF Ontario? It was obviously your first season, so you don't really have much to compare to, but anything for us to note?
Honestly, nothing. You guys were fantastic. You guys put on an amazing show at Ontario. Like, it was the most well put together hype show that I've experienced.
That's good.
And no, it was fantastic. It was absolutely amazing.
How was flying like in peak week and stuff? Like, did you because you got there the Friday, right? Or Thursday?
I got there on the Friday morning.
So
Friday afternoon.
2 days out. So did you need to do anything like, because some people say like they get swollen or their water retention, like anything like that?
No, I was okay. Honestly, like, it was such an early flight. Like, I just went to sleep on the flight. It was 4 hours, 4.5 hours. It wasn't too bad. And got to the hotel, checked in. I was expecting to be weighed, but I didn't know it was just like one class open weight for the pros. So, but no issues really. It was all good.
You seem like a pretty chilled out, reasoned guy in general, and that probably helps.
Yeah. No, I tried to keep my cool during this prep and try not to stress that much. And obviously, like, I was super nervous going into these shows, but I dieted hard, I trained hard, I did what I had to do, and I brought the best package that I could, and the rest is out of my control. So there's no point in worrying about things that are out of your control at that point. So
love that.
I think that's a beautiful soundbite to close this out, man. If people want to find out more about you, if they've got questions, if they want to follow along, where do they hit you up?
Yeah, you guys can find me on Instagram, AdamG95_lift. And that's the only social media that I'm active on.
No TikToks, eh?
No, not for me.
Oh, thank God. All right, people. Well, if you enjoyed this episode with Adam, let us know. And we look forward to seeing how this offseason unfolds. And who knows, we might come head to head in 2025, which I'll be damn excited for.
Man, that's going to be a lot of fun, man.
I love it. All right, people. If you enjoyed this episode, give it a like, subscribe for future ones, and we'll see you guys in the next one.